Oz.
Yeah, boy.
Hello guys, welcome back to not funny, low quality content. I am here with yet another bow character to round out all the bow characters that I currently own. The only one missing is Venti. This is Fischl. She is a Chunibui, emo-y, JoJo-y character with money spent on Hot Topic. She's an investigator of the Adventurers Guild, and because of her familiarity with Mondstadt through her reconnaissance abilities, she will lower the amount of time spent on expeditions you send her on. Her familiar, known as Osvaldo von Hafnavines, Oz seemingly is the product of her vision and accompanies her wherever she goes. Since Fischl does not have that many friends due to her Chunibu nature, she enjoys the company she gets with Bennett and the Traveler, who seemingly make do with her shenanigans. Hashtag relatable. Due to the nature of her kit, it makes her an amazing sub DPS for virtually any team composition. And if you get Constellation 1 and upwards, it makes her a reliable main DPS for people who are looking for a character who can flex into the two important roles of main and sub DPS. Not only this, but since Fischl was freely obtained during the Unreconciled Stars event, many players at the very least own a Constellation 0 Fischl to boost their team compositions by a metric ton. Today, I am here to discuss the Prinzessin der Verurteilung, also known as the Princess of Conviction, that's what I got to the translator, and how she plays out in game. Today, I am here to discuss what it's like to be Fischl.
Oz, reveal thyself.
This is her entire kit, I swear. We're going to start with Oz, as I've just said, he's the most important part of Fischl's kit. Night Rider is Fischl's elemental ability and allows Fischl to summon Oz onto the field. You can tap the ability key to summon Oz directly in front of Fischl, or hold the ability to direct where Oz will spawn. Oz will spawn in the field with an initial area of effect burst of damage, and after a short delay, will shoot at nearby enemies, inflicting electro damage to them. Constellation 2 simply makes the area of effect larger and deal more damage. You can shoot Oz with a charge shot after gaining her first passive, Stellar Predator, and create an extra area of effect burst around Oz. But since you have to shoot Oz with a charge shot, no one really uses it since there are so many other things you could be doing other than shooting Oz. Like, doing literally anything else.
Whoa!
Oz will remain on the field for 10 seconds no matter who the active character currently is, which means you can reliably trigger Overload, Electrocharge, and Superconduct very easily. This is amplified by Fischl's second passive, Undone Be Thy Sinful Hex, which can be procced by any active character and will damage the enemy further, similar to how Albedo's ability works. After the 10 seconds are up, Oz will despawn and will have to be spawned again by Fischl. Constellation 6 Fischl will have Oz deal additional damage on top of the damage you are already dealing, no matter what character you have. Think of it as an additional electro weapon imbuement, but for literally anything you do, similar to how Zhangling with Crescent Pike works, if you understand that. Because of how Oz works, Oz is one of the most powerful elemental abilities in the game because of his rapid electro application and his continual presence on the field, even when Fischl isn't present. In fact, Fischl's entire kit is centered around Oz and the ability to semi-permanently have him on the field. Oh yeah, there's also that thing. Fischl's burst is Midnight Phantasmagoria, which briefly turns her into Oz for a short duration. During this time, Oz can only move forward and turn left and right. Additionally, Oz will damage enemies along his path. You should note that whenever using your burst, you don't have invincibility frames like many of the other bursts in the game, so you will have to be sure that you're able to survive any of the damage that you're going to take, or else you will die, and that's not fun. Fischl will reappear at the end of the burst duration and will refresh Oz's field presence. Constellation 4 will make the initial damage of the burst larger, as well as heal Fischl for 20% at the end of the burst's duration, regardless if she goes out of the burst normally or is swapped out. Because of Midnight Phantasmagoria, Fischl can basically have Oz on the field permanently provided she has enough energy recharge to recast her burst when needed. You will most often start almost any fight with Oz to bring in the energy recharge, as well as the continual electro application for any elemental reactions you might need depending on whether you are physical damage, elemental damage heavy, or just simply need to break some Geo Shields. Either way, Fischl's kit revolves around Oz entirely. In that case, what builds can arise from Fischl's kit? Well, there are 3 main builds used with Fischl, and one of them is hard locked behind Constellation 6. Her sub DPS support build is the only build you can realistically build on her at Constellation 0. Although you are able to build her as a physical DPS, Constellation 0, it is very recommended that you get her to Constellation 1 before doing so. Finally, her Constellation 6 build is her Electro DPS build due to how her Constellation 6 works. Let's talk about her support build first. Dear Diary, I have started adventuring with Bennett from the Adventurers Guild for a while, and he seems to be okay with my Prinzessin der Verirrtelung persona. Bennett himself is a very unlucky individual, although he has the most upbeat and positive personality of anyone I've met so far. One time we were on a stroll in Liyue, don't ask why, and a ruin guard that was closer to me suddenly aimed their rockets at Bennett, promptly ending his life. We'll write on this further.
Are you keeping well, my liege?
Fischl's support build is focused on Oz alone and looks to make sure that Oz is on the field at all times. The build itself is actually separated into 3 separate artifact sets depending on how much players are willing to invest into Fischl. Do take note that the 4-piece Thunder Super set should only be taken if you're able to have Electro or Electro Charge on enemies consistently and all the time. As for the weapons, considering the 5-star weapons first, the 5-star Skyward Harp is better than Amos Bow due to the extra crit damage, which is more useful in the late game fights with level 80 to 90 characters. The Blackcliff Bow is next due to its secondary crit damage stat and its passive, which strives off of getting kills, and therefore Oz will ramp in damage as the fight goes on depending on what you're fighting. The Viridescent Hunt and Stringless are next and are technically equal, as the Viridescent Hunt has its grouping capabilities, while the Stringless has the extra damage boost passive, which makes them situational for either grouping large amounts of enemies or single target fights. Although weapon choice also depends on your access to these weapons, so for a backup free-to-play option, Prototype Crescent is available to its secondary attack stat, and the additional damage on his passive, granted you shoot a weak spot before swapping Fischl out. Although, basically, support Fischl is just Oz. That's the game plan. Dear Diary, today I went with Bennett to the Thousand Winds Temple for a commission to take down a ruin guard. So we came up with a plan. The plan was that I was the one to distract the ruin guard, and Bennett was the one to take it down with a sneak attack.
Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember.
How extraordinarily philosophical. Next up is Fischl's physical DPS build, which centers Fischl as a main DPS carry based on auto-attacking. The build itself focuses on raising Fischl's physical damage output, which also means that Fischl now heavily benefits from superconduct, and the fact that she's an Electro character means it's easier to proc.
Bazinga!
When it comes to artifacts, the build will entirely change to incorporate her new focus on physical damage. The 2 artifact sets here are based off whether you seek to keep Electro on the enemies or not through Electro Charge and such, although it's technically easier to acquire Gladiator artifacts from natural progression. In terms of future gameplay, the 2-piece Thundering Fury set will especially help if you're looking to C6 your Fischl at some point. I mean, it's better to prepare for the future after all. As for weapons, the Compound Bow had initially been the main bow for physical damage Fischl, but when looking into the future, it's best to use a different bow such as Rust, Prototype Crescent if you can hit the weak spots often, or any of the 5-star bows in case you nab a Constellation 6 Fischl. Fischl's Electro build unlocks upon the retrieval of Constellation 6, which adds a joint Electro attack to any amount of damage dealt by Fischl or her team. The build itself does not see too much change, but instead of using the Bloodstained Chivalry 2-piece, you swap it out for a 2-piece Thundering Fury instead. The Thunder Super 4-piece set is also a recommended set, but you gotta make sure you use Electro Charge more often, just so that the Electro applications will not wear off, so you don't lose your 35% damage bonus. This Electro joint attack essentially makes Fischl an Electro machine gun, which, unlike Amber, focuses on auto attacks rather than aim shots. However, like Amber, there are different ways to go about using Fischl's auto attacks. The most common method that Fischl uses is her aim shot auto cancel on her last auto attack. Doing this cancels the laggy animation of her final shot, which allows you to start the next auto attack string earlier than normal. However, this is just one way going about this. There are other methods commonly known as dash canceling, AARR, and AARAR, each climbing in difficulty to pull off consistently. Dash canceling is the easiest to pull off but spends stamina, which means it becomes more risky to use every time you use it. The AAAAAAG, or as I like to call it, auto attack aim cancelling, is very simple, yet requires you to master the muscle memory for it. It requires you to quickly hit your aim shot button twice in quick succession to cancel the auto attack animation and start the next auto attack string early. This is also doable after the second auto attack, which actually does 20% more damage as shown by 1010 in his video about AAAAAAG cancelling. AAAAAAG cancelling is the hardest of the methods shown since it requires frame perfect inputs. Remember in my Amber video where I showed you aim shot animation cancelling? Yeah, that's what we're doing right here, but it's in an auto attack string, so that's gonna be fun. If you can get the muscle memory for it, by all means go for it, but if you don't, just stick to the other methods shown. Today, Bennett and I headed over to the Tianxiu Valley with the Traveler as Sucrose had commissioned the retrieval of Geovishap bones. The Traveler and Paimon had to do something quickly, so they left me with Bennett to the Geovishap for now. Oh, okay. Hopefully they will return soon because I do not want to distract this thing for long. Fischl is one of the best sub-DPS units out there, mostly because of Oz. But also because, it's mostly just because of Oz. The combination of easy electro applications and potentially infinite uptime allows every team composition to have a consistent amount of energy recharge, as well as a steady supply of electro applications to work with. To be honest, you could probably slap her into any team at all and it would still work well. She functions in a team similar to how Xingqiu, Bennett, or Sucrose might function. They're all extremely important since they provide crazy amounts of elemental applications, massive amounts of utility buffs and or healing, and or crazy crowd control capabilities. However, instead of showcasing her as a support this video, I would rather showcase her as a main DPS. Now before I start talking about these teams, I want to note that there isn't a clearly defined team composition for Fischl, as say for Child or Dayloop, since they have supports that are clearly well synced for them. With that out of the way, let's start talking about them. This first team composition focuses on Fischl's physical damage build and looks to amplify that even more through the use of superconduct and nullify her weakness of grouped enemies with supports that have massive grouping capabilities. Sucrose or Venti fills the group damage role to overcome this weakness. The option of Kaya, Ganyu, and Diona bring different advantages to your team, but mainly provide the superconduct needed for Fischl to pump out more damage with. Finally, there is a slot mainly here as a fill option. Some options would be Bennett for heals, attack buffs, and access to Overload to break Geoshields, Mona for her heavy crowd control and potential grouping with her ability, or even Xinyan with her physical damage buffs, shields, and the access to a Claymore and Overload. Now onto the Electro build brought by her Constellation 6. The change of focus from physical damage to electro damage warrants a new focus towards keeping the electro application uptime to a maximum through the potential usage of more electro characters or through electro charge. This example team shows one of the ways you can go about creating a team built around this. The options here now reside with a Hydra unit to keep superconduct up. Child, Mona, Xingqiu, and Barbara help fill this role and provide certain benefits to a team based on your preference. Lisa can be the extra electro character role for electro application, but Beidou is superior due to her ability to parry and tank damage, as well as apply electro better than Lisa can through her burst. However, it should be noted that this electro character is completely optional as well, since you also have electro charge. The flex role is mainly here for preference, but it's recommended at this point to bring a pyro character since you will have a lack of geo shield breakers, so Bennett or Xinyan could work here as well to provide overload. Bennett and I have been sent to Guyun Stone Forest since someone oddly asked for star conches. Seriously, what is up with people nowadays? Anyway, there's nothing much to do right now. Except that, what? All in all, Fischl's an astounding character who can flex into almost every single team composition imaginable. For her ability to apply electro extremely often, she is both a battery and an enabler for any team. Her damage is also extremely well versed to the point where she can also be a main DPS character, and her electro element supplies her with the means to adapt it to virtually any situation. Almost every situation, that is, and that's exactly what you should expect from the Princess of Conviction. Or I mean, princess in there for Ertalon. I mean that's the video. That's it.
But I'm not done yet. What? You think the ritual?
That's part of the ritual. It's part of the ritual. I use my
You sacrificed the.
You see my abalone. It's my abalone. Watch it instantly show. Just like that.
Yeah.
The last pull. Sack frags. I actually wanted
Wow.
one. I actually kind of wanted a sack frag. There it is. No, it's not.
Yeah.
The next one.
What's that noise?
Yo! What noise?
chunky. It's like.
I thought it was.
Here it is. There it is!
Yeah!
Oh, wait, I'm gonna look behind myself. Alright, I'm gonna look behind. Wait, hold on.
Rainbow.
Press.
Wait,
Press.
hold on. Wait, let me get my
Next.
mouse.
That's
That's not it, is it?
Next.
That's not it.
No. Ow, ow.
Next.
Okay. I don't know.
Next.
I don't know. That's it?
Yay!
This was like 30. That was good.
That was
that was
30! Now I say for
me your
Venti.